Hola, it's your host Jasko, and this is Exploring Environments. Why hola, you might say? Because we're going to Spain for this next game in Resident Evil 4. The original, that is. Anyway, let's get started. At the beginning, when you get out of the police car and you look underneath this bridge, you can actually see the water current moving around objects like this rock, for example. And I thought that was very interesting. Why would they put this in when most players would not even see this? Inside the police car, there are two cops you can look at. And one of the emblems on his arm is supposed to be like the Spanish flag, or I guess like a similar image to it, but it looks like either my game or the game makers on this version, it's the Steam version, had the colors faded out so it looks kind of orange, white, and bluish. I'll put an example of what they're supposed to look like on the screen. In the badge on his front here, it looks like it's a 3D model instead of a 2D picture like the emblem. It's a smaller thing, not much to it, but the grass seems to be clipping through the car here. I wanted to put this in here since a lot of people don't actually speak Spanish, so I'm going to translate what the first guy's saying. It's going to be a rough translation, but you'll see it on the screen as he's talking.
I was wondering if you might recognize a girl in this photograph?
¿Qué carajo estás haciendo aquí? ¡Lárgate, cabrón!
Sorry to have bothered you.
In the back here you can see these maggots filled in the holes where these skulls are, and the maggots that are moving around move in a similar pattern, left and right. I'm going to call it pulsating from now on, but this is going to be used a lot throughout the game. I'll point them out as I see them. In the dining room where the fireplace is, where you meet the first villager, you see this pot with moving water in there, but there's nothing actually making that water move. I just want to point it out. When Leon was talking to the first villager, I don't know how he didn't see these bones on the floor here, but I guess that could be just decorative things, so maybe he did see it. A lot of the words and signs in this game are unreadable, so I'm not going to be putting as much of those in here, so just wanted to let you know so you don't ask me questions later in the comments about that. Here's another instance of the villagers talking. I'm just going to put it in there for you.
¡Forastero! ¡Avisad a los demás! ¡Te cogí!
This is actually Leon's personal handgun, custom made by Kendo. Not the same Kendo, the store of Resident Evil 2, but his brother, Joseph Kendo. And the gun's name is actually called Silver Ghost. I notice this a lot when I'm watching NPCs from a distance. That sounded really creepy, but the NPCs move in the same patterns, you could say. Like this lady in the blue moves back and forth, putting water from the up on the left there, and goes to the right for the cows on the right. Here's the cutscene translator for you when the player runs inside the building. When you first see the first chainsaw guy.
¡Por allí! ¡No dejes que se escape! ¡Agárrenlo! Vayan por detrás.
Why are these people?
¡Bloqueen el paso!
What are they planning? Chainsaw. Shit.
¡Te voy a matar!
Son of a...
I just wanted to translate this end of the chapter screen. This top left one, the smaller one, says you may find where you are if you lose your possession. At least I think that's what it says. The one underneath it says if you keep that important message. Also it has a manual, lets you to play that important message. I can't translate a lot of it. It's not really translating, but I can't decipher what it means. It's really blurry and it's in cursive. The middle and top one, where the hit ratio and enemies killed is, are the exact same. The bottom one I cannot read for the life of me. Here's another translated scene for you when the bell rings during the village fight.
La campana. Es hora de rezar. Tenemos que irnos.
There's this bowl next to the bed upstairs where you find the shotgun. And I'm not sure if it's food, wheat, or like a sick bowl or something like that. But it's filled with some kind of brown material. Seems to be that the water is dirty all over the village. There's a bunch of these boxes filled with water, but this is coming out of a pump. So that must mean the water is already dirty from where it's coming from. Is there a well or a river? So if it's a well, that means the water has been already, I guess, poisoned or dirty. This cow seems to be drooling, which I thought was weird, but then I looked up, cows actually drool when they're eating. Apparently they drool between 50 to 150 liters a day when eating. Also, when they're sick or have ulcers in their mouths, they drool as well. So if your cow's doing that, get it checked out. Advice for you. This window up here, whoever built it, it's actually the same for a lot of the windows in the village, so I think they're just copy and pasted, but I'll have to think for the villager lore that they can't build straight windows. So I think this room was like a prisoner room, since there's a lock on the door as well as a blood-stained bed, which means people were tortured here when they were captured, or maybe giving the Plagas virus, Plagas meaning plague. So I'm guessing either the cop that was burning outside or Ashley before Leon came here. Found more rotating liquid inside this smaller house over here, but it looks like it has some kind of intestines or rotting meat inside of it. This church in the background looks like a completely different church from the one you are going to. The tower looks like it's on top of the church, while the one you go to is on the side. It also looks way too small compared to the one we see later on. This could all be just perspective at work here. The cult has like pictures of Leon here, and he's wearing the exact same clothes he's wearing in the village. So either Leon doesn't change clothes often, or this is very recent. It's another body of water. It looks like it's filled with maggots and looks like old meat in there. I'm thinking the villagers filled these bodies of water up so they could mature the smaller Las Plagas eggs in order so they could infect others later on. In the back over here is a cart of bodies. Maybe they're using these bodies for the food for the Las Plagas eggs. This could also be people that were rebels or didn't agree with the cult in a way, or they could have been rejected hosts which failed the process, so they're reusing the meat in order to infect other people. This is the only source of water I could find that isn't dirty, and this is being used for the animals, so I'm guessing they're trying to keep the animals not infected in order to maybe breed more of them. These cows have no way to get over this right here. They could probably step over it, maybe, but I don't think they can, because it looks like the wood's bolted into the frames here. So it's just a weird design I want to point out. This spider seems to have like a fixed path that it goes in, either a circle or maybe some hexagon. That was interesting watching it. There seems to be a lot of destroyed buildings and houses in this area where you find Lewis. And this might have been like a richer section of the village, or maybe a community area where like people could come and read, since this building behind where Lewis is a library of sorts. There's a lot of knowledge, or maybe this is where a hermit lived, the smartest of the village. This building is barely used as well, since there's so much dust going around. But there are a lot of books everywhere and tables, so this might have been a library or some kind of meeting area for the leaders of the houses. Very basic flag for the Los Illuminatus cult. Los meaning the Illuminatus meaning enlightened, so the enlightened cult. In the Big Cheese's office, you can actually see bigger furniture in order to accommodate his bigger size. However, his bed doesn't seem bigger. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't fit in his bed, and also he doesn't have a pillow. I guess comfort's just not a thing in the village. There's also a portrait of looks like the church, so this looks very recent too. Down here in the bathroom, there seems to be toilet paper, but no toilet or any way to get rid of the feces in there. So what's the point of toilet paper? Here's another chair that was used by the Big Cheese, and it looked like they were about to get ready for dinner because these glassware and things are clean, it looks like. I wonder who was joining him. There's 4 more chairs set up. I guess 5. It also looks like he wasn't eating. There might be signs of cannibalism in this village. There are body parts in multiple containers throughout the village, including the skull in this pot here. In the background, right before you get back to the village, you can see the outline of the buildings, and they look really blurry and 2D shaped. When you first meet the merchant, you can see that he's selling shotgun shells, a pistol, and a few different bags, which I have no idea what's inside them. In the graveyard section, there's a bunch of twin graves that might be important families to the church. I have no idea who they were, but Leon says they are twins. If you shoot this church bell where the church is, you can actually summon a group of villagers come towards you. Cool little fact is, they're actually called ganados, which means livestock. Because they were controlled by the subordinate plagas, which the subordinate plagas are controlled by the, I guess, leader plagas. I can't remember the actual name. This puzzle is interesting because you see the 3 family symbols on those graves before. They're actually illuminating these symbols, which means the families were illuminated. So they were part of the church. If you use your sniper rifle, you can actually see this weird archway sewer thing in the distance. And I'm thinking this was used as like some kind of water control, or maybe some way to redirect water into the sewers. The little thing you can do is take a flashbang. Since these crows have such little health, you can throw this flashbang and take them all out at the same time, and you get like a nice little reward there. Merchant has a whole collection of ammo on display. I'm going to tally up for you. But before that, let's get to some basics first. This game takes place in 2004 or 5, and $1 was worth about $1.67 today. And they use the currency called pesta, which is the Spanish currency before the euro. Place it, but in this region they're still using it because they're, I guess, out of touch. And $1 is equal to 1,150 pesta. So, using that knowledge, here's some prices I found. 12 boxes of shotgun shells. I'm going to assume there's 30 in there. I can't find how many are in there on the box. So it's 360 shells. About 120 petas per shell, which would be 43,000 petas, which is $38. And I'm going to put more examples on here, but I'm going to go over a few for you. Sniper ammo, 9 boxes, 50 bullets, so to say. So that's 450 bullets, 150 petas per bullet, which is 67,500 petas, which is around $60. That's the most expensive ammo. I guess magnum ammo would be more expensive, but I don't see any here. But there are also, it looks like, TMPs on the bottom left over here. Some have no handles, some are missing parts. And also a weapon I don't think is in the game at the top up here. Water in the lakes. These are like oversized particles that we see early on inside the dirty pots and pans. This seems to be like a religious praying room, or maybe a ritual burial room because of all the pans and pots and candles. On the stained glass, which took me a while to figure out what this is, but this is a scene from the life of Moses. It looks like all the animals are gone, the bodies that were in the cart, the clean water's gone. Looks like they're about to use them for something. When you're shooting the enemies off the gondola here, Ashley will pump her fist. But it looks like if you shoot multiple in rapid succession, she will pump them in order, depending on how many you took down. And I think it's timed, it's not exactly reaction based. The merchant's door on here, the guns seem to be a musket and maybe an old western gun. I'm not sure about that gun. Inside that room, the weapons on the wall seem to be way too big for a normal human. Like this sniper rifle, for example, is as big as the merchant if it was standing vertically up from the floor. In the prison down below, in the castle, you can see villagers in here, or I guess just one. If you're possibly against the Lord, maybe a rebel. I guess that's the same thing, really. I just wanted to point out, how are these being powered if there's no electricity running through the castle? They're using candles everywhere, but this section just has power. These cultists here seem to be praying to flesh that was destroyed, and maybe the logic is that they are reborn from the parasite, or the parasite grows from the flesh. If you look down here on the right, you can see the knights from the first Castellan prosecuting the Los Illuminados cult. This is because the first Castellan was trying to support Christianity through the region, so he was wiping out all the smaller religions. I played this game so many times. I have never played on easy mode, so I wanted to try it out to see how easy it was, really. But in easy mode, it seems they took the maze section out of the game. The ones with the dogs are in there, and you have to find the parts in order to open the gate. It has been completely removed in this section. There's some modern shoe boxes in this closet here, so I'm guessing these are newer shoes, which means in turn that this room is used a lot. And I think this is a royal looking room, so this must belong to Salazar. There's another example of a bed without a pillow. I'm starting to believe that no one has any pillows in this area. Here's a picture of Salazar when he was younger. This knight statue is way bigger than a normal person. Actually, he's actually 5'6", and this armor looks to be 2 or 3 feet taller than her, which means it is 8 to 9 feet tall. There seems to be other statues, or I guess armor sets, that are covered in red and gold, which means it could be the royal guard of the castle, or some elite units, I should say. Or maybe they could be ceremonial dresses. Just want to point out Ashley can go up and down the ladder, which means she makes Leon catch her, but she's too lazy to do it herself. I have no idea what's powering this mechanism in order for it to move back and forth, but it must run on some kind of Las Plagas magic. Who knows? If this room was in real life, this heat and smoke from the lava below would eventually kill Leon in a few minutes. Maybe seconds. And also, I don't see any way for the heat to escape or for air to come in, except for this hole in the ceiling which the weird dragon statue drops down from. In the background you can see 3 or 4 castles, counting this one, and I don't know if these belong to other lords or families in the area. They could also be all 4 part of the same lord, Castellan, and he just put them all around in order to have a nice forest in the middle. I don't know. There seems to be no reflection on the floor when you look down at either Leon or Ashley. It's just a black spot. There are 2 different family shields, it looks like. The left one might be the original one before the Los Illuminados took over, and the right one looks like the current one that's being run by the cult. It looks like the wheels on this drill death trap are not moving. And also, why is there a drill death trap in here? There's blood on the ground, so previously they did this, which is a little weird if you think about it. It's another easy mode change that comes around. It looks like you only need 1 grail to actually move from this area. The other area is blocked off. Usually you fight these knights with parasites coming out the top of them with Leon. Go through the window on the right and then up the ladder. You arrive at this window that lets you see inside a giant room with a nest in the middle. If you look at the nest, you can see it pulsating like the maggots from the beginning I showed you, left to right. And also, if you take out the nest, you don't have to fight respawning insects in that room, so that's a hint for you too. so did they create this bridge after the nest? Was the floor destroyed as well? Or was this before? Because the security is not that great if it was before. You can just walk up to this thing and turn it on. Another easy mode change, you cut out the tower section. You have to shoot the blocks of wood to get the gears moving. And also the catapults and the bridge section with the enemies on it that you have to fight through them are completely gone too. Inside the actual room that crossed the bridge, one of the enemies is gone as well. The Garador, which is the clawed guy without the armor. So basically you're just fighting one of them now in easy mode. After Leon falls down the hole, there's a bunch of cultist bodies down here. They seem to be maybe loyalists that were loyal to the original leadership of the castle. There was this crown I found on one of the bodies, and thus they were removed from the equation basically. The current leader of the castle. I don't exactly read what this says, but the top part has the word crossing and crosswalk. They look to be mining some kind of black mineral or rock down here, or maybe this is powder for dynamite they're going to use to blow holes or chunks in the wall. This railway track or railroad track down here for the carts seems to have the textures blending on top of each other from the metal and the rock. It looks like the chainsaw guy who usually comes out after you activate the switch over here was taken out as well on easy mode. Interesting question I had here when I was watching this rock get mined down here like water. Wouldn't this destroy the fossils if they were trying to find any of the parasites down here hidden away? Seems to be some ancient wall scripture and writing down here, which I can't read. It also doesn't look like it's from this region of the earth. Stone that's made to crush Leon here is clipping through the ceiling. This looks like to be like a destroyed section of the castle. Maybe this is where the rebels held out and were wiped out finally, or maybe this is where they store their old family history and Salazar tried to bury it here, burning everything down. Another thing the easy section took out is the two chainsaw guys here. One of them seems to be missing downstairs. Seems to be some kind of burial chambers, and it looks like it was a royal skeleton in here. I have no idea who it is. Another easy mode change is when you come in this room, there are parasites attacking you, as well as the spiked ceiling coming down on you, which you would have to stop. But in this mode, it does not have a spiked ceiling. There seems to be a glitch in this section where the player cannot climb up without failing. So basically you'd spam X and it wouldn't work. Apparently it's a PC glitch where the prompt doesn't appear before you need to press it, so you have to press it before it appears in order to bypass it. When you get to the top of the castle, the entire area around the castle is blocked off by looks like a rectangular box. The only instance of fruit and vegetables I've seen in the game. Looks to be potatoes, red onions, and maybe yellow. Leon seems to be staring at the camera or nothing. In fact, both their eyes don't move, they actually just stare forward. Looking out the island, we can see the castle off in the distance. It seems to be 2D as well as blurred. Wanted to show you some ammo boxes. The Jackal submachine gun ammo can hold 50 cartridges. It's 9mm parabellum. Submachine gun, New T, whatever that is. Ohio 2. It's made by Red Eagle Corp, which I think the which I think the shotgun shells, magnum, and pistol ammo are made by the same corporation. The sniper, I think it says Dragonfly is the corporation, but I'm not really sure. Or it could be enforcement as well. I'm not really sure. It doesn't have a corp or ink or anything. There's a secret entrance to a cave, which has like an old cave painting. It looks like a bunch of people ripping the parasite out of someone. This sink seems to be off-center, and I don't know if it was designed that way or not, but it kind of bothers me. I think this is where the meat from the village went. The cows and everything, it was sent here. There's also a chicken in the oven. And I think they were slaughtering the animals in order to feed the soldiers here. Looks like they were eating beans or cans of something. With looks like rotten meat. There's also maggots mixed in with the food. This wall has a strange break pattern. Looks like it's melting instead of the usual stone breakage. There seem to be bodies hanging from the ceiling for some reason. I think they're people that have been captured and awaiting the transformation of the Las Plagas parasites. Or they might be food. This seems to be a map of the island with the castle on the right side. I'm not sure what the smaller 4 red pin spots are. Maybe defensive positions on the island. Here's a picture actually with some other pictures of people crossed off, maybe assassinated people or people taken over by the cult. They have a bunch of different clocks, but they're all the same time except for one of them. And usually in movies and stuff like that, they have different time zones on each clock. It looks like someone was shot back here in the corner. I'm not sure, it could be dry blood, it could be dried strawberry jam. I'm guessing someone was killed before the virus took over. I found these weird containers that have the symbol for hazardous area or place on them. I'm not sure, it could be a mistake on the developer's part. I found this picture of a printout of the body, the human body maybe. I'm not sure what it implies though. It could be experiments on the body, but we just can't tell what it is because of the blurriness. This light seems to be hanging, but when I looked at the ceiling, there's no attach point for the second wire that would attach to the light. This entire room is covered in, looks like, dried blood, either from the experiment in front of us or from someone getting snatched from one of the regenerators that came to life. We can see an adult parasite trying to attach to this person on the bed and take over his body. An interesting thing you can do is blow off the generator's leg and use your knife to kill it. That way you save a lot of ammo. But be careful since it can lunge up and attack you and take 33 to 40% of your health on this attack. Inside the freezer, this body's arm is moving back and forth, which would be impossible. But I think this guy's alive and just faking it in here, so he doesn't get killed by the regenerators in this room. This parasite seems to be still alive, as you can tell by the moving legs inside this person's body. This looks to be like a bunch of failed experiments for the regenerator. One of them has a parasite that blew out of his chest. One of them has a mature parasite outside the body. Another one looks like they're tied up by the back of their arms. It looks like they were trying to help the parasite grow in the meat in the lab here, and eventually moving them up from the petri dishes to the smaller meats to the bigger samples. There's a lot of dog food and cat food, but I've seen no animals on the island, which is strange to me. This could be for the prisoners. Interesting thing is when you tell Ashley the waiter to come, the regenerators can actually hear you and they'll come near you.
Wait.
It looks like the merchant has orange eyes now, which just show he's infected with the parasite, which the villagers and the cultists have if you actually pay attention to it. Or Leon gets scratched by Krauser's knife in this scene. Remember this for later. This scene's a reference to the first Resident Evil 1 movie, where they're in the labs and get attacked by lasers. Leon can go sit in Lord Sadler's chair and just relax there for a little bit. Seems to be some kind of body in this container. It's alive. It's most likely an animal. However, there's no sound coming from it, which means there's something in there without vocal cords. This entire section right here, the prison section of the island, seems to be filled with body bags with things leaking out of the bags. Entire like flesh piles everywhere on the sinks, on the walls. No idea what it is. It could be more generators growing, since we do find one in the earlier section in one of these cells. Looks like the island has very green energy here too, as you can see by the windmills up there. Or the previous owners could have installed them and they're just using the island now. Well, that's everything I found in this game, and I left out... Well, that's everything I found for this game, and I left out the paintings in the game because they had nothing to do with the story. They were mostly just Christian related things, which I think the previous owner of the castle was Christian, so after Salazar took over, he destroyed his family history, but not the paintings. If you want me to do the story of the actual game, and we'll lead up to this moment, you can let me know. Anyway, I'm going to move on to the next game, and I will see you there.